G'day everyone, welcome back to another live stream here at the Australian Reptile Park. It's a beautiful, beautiful Monday here at the park. I hope you guys are doing okay and I hope you're enjoying our videos. Now, I'm not sure how this bit's gonna go. This is Chaos. Chaos is our Rhinoceros Iguana. Now, when we post photos of Chaos, they get a lot of interactions because he is such a beautiful, beautiful animal. But sometimes he can be a little bit flighty. So I'm kind of gonna let him, I guess, decide how long this whole encounter goes for, and if he starts to move around too much I will put him away. But I want you guys to see probably one of the most beautiful lizards that we have here at the reptile park. So this is Chaos. He gets the name because I guess sometimes he can cause a little bit of chaos. Probably one of his most infamous moments, he was working with one of our keepers, Brando, who's left us. Brando was doing a talk and he actually bit him straight on the face. Not Brando, he didn't bite Chaos. Chaos bit Brando straight on the melon, and then Brando had to do another 25-minute talk with a bit of blood bleeding from his mouth, which he's not the best looking bloke ever, but particularly when he's got blood dripping from his mouth. But anyway, hopefully that doesn't happen today. So this is our beautiful Rhinoceros Iguana. He's a male. He's about 7 or 8 years old now, and if you actually look at his eyes, I reckon, I might be a bit biased, but I think that Rhinoceros Iguanas probably have some of the most beautiful blue eyes you'll see on any animal. They've got stunning eyes, and I just like to highlight them a little bit. Now, in a little bit in front of the eyes, you can also see those kind of little notches on the end there, where the name comes from. Those kind of like pseudo horns you can see at the front there, and obviously that's where it gets its name from, Rhinoceros Iguana, because they do quite resemble a rhino horn, which is quite cool. Now, they're not endemic to this part of the world. They are from, I guess you could say, the West Indies, the Caribbean, from a place called Hispaniola. Now, there's lots of iguanas that fill that region. They're called West Indian rock iguanas. There's other species like your Grand Cayman blue iguana, which is one of the most spectacular looking lizards on the planet, your Jamaican iguana or your Cuban iguana. Now, unfortunately for all those lizards, majority of them are considered either endangered or critically endangered, primarily due to habitat loss, of course. So if you are wanting to help these species, you can look up various organisations online because they are incredible animals and we do need to ensure that we protect them. Now, they're a herbivorous creature, so primarily herbivorous, I should say. And in the wild, they've been known to feed on well over 100 different plant species in their environment. And despite the fact that he is herbivorous, he actually does have fairly sharp teeth, which can enable him to cause, well, a pretty severe bite if he did happen to bite one of the keepers, which unfortunately we have seen once or twice before. But really, you're going to fill his days feeding on plant species. They're a beautiful species. They're one of my favourites, and I'm not going to keep him out for very long, only because of the fact that I want to keep him nice and relaxed. We'll put him back inside, and then we'll grab out Tuffy, another one of our beautiful iguanas, our green iguana. So I might put Chaos back just because he's done an amazing job. He's got to say hello to you guys. You've been able to see his beautiful blue eyes, and he's actually quite relaxed. I like to think that when he's around me, he typically is like this. He does relax quite a bit, and I don't see him thrash around quite as much as other times when you will see him come out. But he's done an amazing job. You probably will see some discoloration as well. I just pointed out if anyone's interested in that, and that's because he's actually going through a process of shedding his skin. So a little bit different to a snake, which will shed its skin in one whole piece. You can actually see what's happening with Chaos at the moment. Those darker, I guess you would say, steely grey patches, that is older skin, that is peeling off. Now, Caitlin, before this filming started, I said, watch the movements of your camera because you might set him off. She nearly just lost a half a finger there. Caitlin, did you learn your lesson? Yes, okay, beautiful stuff. What he was reacting to was that movement close to his face, and a lot of reptiles don't typically like it when anyone gets too close to their face, so you saw that reaction there. Moving on, that was a little bit funny there.
Just trying to show.
You're great, you're fine,
the skin on his back leg.
The skin
there,
is peeling off.
Yeah.
You have wonderful reflexes though, well done. We could get you working with venomous snakes. So the skin is peeling off. Give it another month or so, the rest of the skin will go off and you'll actually see that beautiful, almost bluish coloration that you can see in front of my finger there will cover his whole body. But he usually goes through a couple of shed cycles every year because he's still growing quite a bit. Rhinoceros iguanas can be heavier than 5 or so kilos, and he's not quite that, he's about 4. All right, I might put him back. Sound good? Love it.
So who have we got up next?
Oh, where can we go from here? This is Tuffy. Tuffy's the man. Now, we wouldn't bring Tuffy and Chaos out together for the main reason because they're both male iguanas. They can be quite aggressive towards each other. So this is our beautiful, beautiful green iguana, one of the most iconic reptile species found on the planet. Now I brought down some banana to give to him today. We're traded for the brand new banana, which is good as well. So this is a green iguana, as I said, one of the most iconic reptile species on the planet. Famous in a little bit of pop culture as well. Most people have seen The Simpsons before. There was a really cool green iguana on The Simpsons called Jub Jub that one of the twins, one of Marge's sister, used to have as a pet. And they are quite commonly kept as pets right around the world. Now again, not a species you will find naturally living in Australia. They do inhabit parts of South America, right up to Mexico, and they're also invasive in other parts of the world as well, even parts of Asia. But one place that I've seen them in almost plague proportions was Florida. I was in the Everglades. I went to a shopping centre. Next to the shopping centre, I reckon I counted 150 green iguanas. And when I went towards them, it was like a flock of seagulls. They just disappeared. And one of their cool little adaptations, what they like to do actually, is actually jump into water, and they can stay underwater for an extended period of time. So most of them jumped into the water, submerged themselves. I've seen water dragons do similar behaviours, stay under the water, and obviously that's a great way to avoid predation. Let's see if he wants it today. Usually he'll figure it out eventually, and then he'll have a little munch. I'll just put a little bit on the end of the mouth there. No, you're not that interested? That's all right, we'll come back to him in a second. Let's point out some key diagnostic features. A lot of people will ask us about these. What are these things? You know, you touch them and they almost feel like jelly on the side there, but they're actually called jowls. They're enhanced muscle. Their jowls on the males are typically much larger than on the females. So our female green iguana named Gomez, her jowls are quite small in comparison to the male. Also too, they've got this big flap of skin underneath the neck there. That is called a jewlap. So when a male green iguana is trying to show off a little bit, maybe showing off to a girl or potentially trying to scare away another male iguana, he'll stand up like this, get the big flap of skin out. It's quite impressive. Also, you match that with the jowls and these spines that are much larger on the boys and the girls lining the end of the back there. They are one impressive animal. And when they're in their kind of breeding coloration, they will kind of go like a bright, almost a bright orangey colour, which we'll only see Tuffy go like that about once a year. Now they are very adapted climbing, so they are an arboreal species. They're excellent climbers. They spend majority of their time up in trees, and the advantage for that being up in a tree, you're probably going to avoid a lot of various different predatory species, but they are quite an adaptive animal, and that's probably why they're one of the species you must be wary of if you're thinking of as a pet, because when they get really large, and they do grow quite large, they're quite a big animal. You're talking over a metre long. They get big, and then people don't want them as pets anymore, and then they release them. And there has been green iguanas illegally kept as pets here in Australia. So you should never keep any exotic reptile species, particularly in Australia, because of the damage that they might cause to our native species. But as I said, I've seen them by the plague proportions in Florida. They then displace other native or endemic lizard species to that region. Again, banana's a bit of a treat. Usually we're going to feed them things like dandelion greens, so primarily a green diet. But a little bit of a banana treat usually gets them pretty excited. I'm going to just see if I can entice him a little bit. He doesn't seem that interested in the banana today. You want it or not? No.
He usually loves them.
He usually loves banana. Banana is his favourite treat, and that's why we bring it down, because he usually engulfs a banana in about 2 seconds, but we primarily feed them leafy greens. So something we might provide them quite regularly is hibiscus. So it's almost like a similar diet really to our Galapagos tortoises, minus the hay. We'll feed them a lot of mulberry, hibiscus, and a lot of leafy greens as well. Things like collard green, dandelion greens, as I mentioned before, or stuff like endive. Again, like the Rhinoceros Iguana, they do have pretty sharp teeth, and that teeth is obviously designed to slice through sometimes dense vegetation. But also too, they can be fairly aggressive towards each other. I mentioned that if you put Rhino with Tuffy, they'd probably fight. And when males combat, and basically what the male is doing at that time, he's showing to all the females in that region that he's the big, strong man, he's the boss, you know, and our water dragons will go through the same process. I caught 2 male water dragons going through combat today. They come together, they will bite each other, and sometimes can cause each other a little bit of damage. But if you're the big, strong, handsome boy, the females are going to be more receptive to you, and what you end up having is like a harem society. So one dominant male that will mate with multiple females. I'll just see if we can Just entice him a little bit. He doesn't. Oh, here we go. No,
He's not feeling it today. That's all right. What are his other favourite treats?
Oh, that's really, really funny. He usually. Oh, here we go. No, still don't want it. No, that's all right. Some of you, pawpaw, one of his favourites. He loves pawpaw, rockmelon, honeydew. But again, they are really treats, and we kind of feed them those kind of food items when we're doing something like this, maybe an interaction with guests or coming down to do a live stream. So it really is, you don't want to feed them too much sugar. Obviously it's not that great. It's not great for us. It's also not that great for reptiles in some circumstances. So we try to keep their diet as green as we possibly can. They can live for a fairly long time too, which I think is quite amazing. You know, Tuffy, I think, is pushing on 20 now. And I'd say he's got at least another 10 or so years to go. Same with the Rhino Iguana. There's a Rhino Iguana at Australia who I think he's 46 or something now. Yeah, he's old, you know. He's not as old as Ranger Mick, but he's still quite old. So they can live for a really, really long amount of time. They're beautiful, beautiful animals. Right, pretty much your iguanas are primarily found in America, or the Americas, I should say, whereas the other species, the Brachylophus, which is from Fiji and Tonga, which would be like your banded iguana, your crested iguana, and your bulla bulla iguana. It's quite amazing that they're isolated kind of to their point, and the rest of them are found throughout the Americas. But they're a beautiful iguana as well, and we do have we have a crested iguana here at the reptile park on display in our Lost World of Reptiles. I don't know, guys. I think he's not that interested in the food. I'll just see if he. No,
not today.
Nothing. If I can't get you excited by banana, I don't know how I'm going to get you excited by your leafy greens, but you can see how relaxed this individual is. He's spent the majority of his life in and around keepers, and they can be like this. They're beautiful, beautiful animals. We're very, very lucky to have a couple of them here in Australia, and when you come to the park, you even get the chance sometimes when he's walking around to come over and give him a pat. But you can see, you know, like this is pretty cool. It's pretty special to be able to form a bond with a beautiful lizard just like Tuffy here.
So he's called a green iguana, but he doesn't look very green.
That's a great observation, Caitlin. I love that. Was that a question from home? Very good. So when they hatch out of an egg, they are green, emerald green, stunningly beautiful green. And what they go through is called an ontogenetic colour change, where they will change colour. So instead of being green, they'll turn out to be more of like a steely grey, or you almost say like a dull yellow orange colour. But yes, when they hatch out of an egg, they are the most vibrant green, and they kind of mature out of that coloration after a couple of years. So as they grow, you'll see them lose that green more and more and more. So it'd be like a green python that inhabits the northern parts of Australia. When they hatch out of an egg, the Australian ones anyway, they're bright yellow. When they hatch out of an egg, as they mature, they actually turn green. Stunning snakes, by the way.
How many babies do they have at a time? How many's in a clutch?
Yeah, they can lay pretty good work. They do lay eggs, so they can have a fairly substantial clutch. You're talking plus 30 eggs. And I guess that's one of the reasons why they've been able to adapt to other environments around the world and adapt quite quickly, because they do have such large clutch sizes, and they are quite large, so displacing another smaller lizard's quite easy for them. But there's big clutch sizes definitely contribute to that as well.
Do we have more than one green iguana here?
We do. We have two. We have Tuffy and his partner in crime, his PIC. Her name is Gomez. So those two live together in the Lost World of Reptiles. Sometimes you'll even come in and find them canoodling together, which is quite cute. She's not as big as Tuffy, but I've had people kind of mistake which one's which, but they've got a couple of really key points to pick them. It's particularly the jowls. If you look at Gomez's jowls, next time you visit when we're open, you'll see hers are almost, I wouldn't say non-existent, but nowhere near as large or as bulbous as you can, I love that word, bulbous, as Tuffy's are.
What do the spines feel like on his back?
It's the same for anyone that's ever patted the side of a bearded dragon. So a lot of people, there's something like 20,000 reptile keepers just in New South Wales alone. If you've ever felt the side scales, the spines on a bearded dragon, they actually do feel quite similar. So whilst they look quite sharp like they would hurt, if you do that to back of an echidna, it does hurt. We said a little bit of banana stuck there, but actually it's not that sharp at all. It's more about an advantage to looking scary is sometimes it can be enough to ward off a predator. So if you look tough and you look scary, that might just be enough to save your life. And green iguanas definitely have one very impressive display.
So you mentioned they can swim. Can they run fast too?
Yeah, they actually are really, really quick. They actually, I'm pretty slow over land, but I struggle to catch one. They are quite quick, but they're also excellent swimmers. So tuck those back legs in. It just looks like one of our monitor lizards swimming. It almost like it's the same movement of a snake moving through the water, really, or a crocodile. Tuck the legs back and off they go. And as I said, they might be able to submerge themselves. I can't remember how long they can submerge themselves for, but it's actually quite a long period. I know that marine iguanas, which is probably one of the most famous iguana species on the planet, can submerge for over 90 minutes. But I feel like with even green iguanas, they can submerge for a substantial amount of time. So you could imagine if you're a mammal species on land, green iguana jumps into the water. By the time that mammal species forgot about you, you've been under the water the whole time, you can pop back up and get back up on the land and start basking and eating again. Great adaptation.
All right, Darren, last question. How do they camouflage?
How do they camouflage? Well, actually, they do blend in. So when they're young, in particular, obviously that green coloration will allow them to blend in with particularly in tall branches. So you can imagine green amongst green leaves, quite hard to see. Now at this size, he really doesn't have to worry about camouflaging that well. But if you notice, if you could imagine him hanging onto a tree branch, they lay nice and flat, they kind of curl around it. Even on a tree branch, they can be quite hard to see in the wild. Depends how dense the vegetation is, but if they are in fairly dense vegetation region and they're hanging onto a tree branch, they can camouflage in pretty well. But when you're this big, you're not as much worried about your camouflage. You're going to more rely on the fact that you can look so scary. You know? Oh, here we go. Yes, we got there. Look at him get that banana straight down the throat. How good is that? Swallowing that banana in seconds. We got there. It only took 20 minutes, but he realised he still loves his bananas. You want more?
Can you talk a bit about his tongue while we can see it? It's really interesting.
Yeah, they do have pretty much a really kind of fleshy tongue. So it's a little bit different to, say, a monitor lizard in Australia. In fact, their tongue's more like what you would see on a bearded dragon. So definitely not as an advanced tongue as what you'd see on a monitor, but probably, you know, if you look at probably the most advanced fleshy tongue that you would see in one of these type, in a similar type lizard in some respect, would be a chameleon. So obviously they can extend that fleshy tongue right out. But if you've ever seen a bearded dragon tongue, I guess in some ways they do look quite similar to this green iguana tongue.
And you can talk more about his teeth now because we can see them. When
you can see the teeth? Yeah, they're actually quite sharp. They surprise people. And that's one of the things with them. I guess when they get bigger, if they were to bite someone, they could seriously cause some damage. And that's why it's always best to always leave any wild animal alone if you do happen to encounter them. But also, too, probably why people start to get rid of them as pets, particularly overseas. It's not really as much of an issue here in Australia. But when they get big and they're a bit more rambunctious and they do bite, they can cause quite a bit of damage. Do you want the last bit? Or are you done? You're full of banana. I love that. How good's that? All right, guys, I think we might wrap it up there. I hope you enjoyed your Monday live stream with our beautiful iguanas. You got to meet two today, Chaos and Fluffy. When you come to the park next time we're open, I can't wait. Did I say Fluffy? Chaos and Tuffy. I keep getting Tuffy's name wrong. Chaos and Tuffy, the green iguana. When you come to the reptile park, you'll be able to meet these beautiful, beautiful animals when we do open up again. Keep tuning in through the rest of the week and enjoying our videos. Tomorrow, Huey's talking about some mammal of some description.
Yellow-footed rock wallabies.
Yellow-footed rock wallabies. That'll be riveting. Tune in. Wednesday, we've got Elvis the crocodile, so plenty more to see throughout the week. We do hope you're enjoying them. It's keeping us entertained, and we hope you guys as well. But really, we just can't wait to see you all back here at the reptile park very soon. What do you think, Tuffy? See you all soon? Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Hooroo.